What's up, YouTube? Mike with Mike's Manga Hunt here, back again, and today is time for another one of my What's Mike Been Reading videos, the series where I kind of just ramble on and talk about all my thoughts and opinions on all the stuff I've been reading lately. So, got a few things to get through, so without further ado, let's get started. Right, so I feel like the best way to describe like my reading for this month was just like catching up. I took a lot of series that I kind of like had read in the past, and I kind of stopped for a bit and just kind of read up to like where they're supposed to be. Kind of like currently, I took a break from some series that I was reading to kind of give my chance to kind of like open the door for some new things. But definitely you'll see here a lot of catching up, and we did start 2 new series. We'll talk about those in a little bit, of course. So I'm not going to keep you guys waiting. I'm ready to just talk about everything. So, but before I start, as always, I got to put a spoiler warning here for all these series I'm going to talk about, because talking about all my feelings. This is a big one for spoilers, actually, because we're going to talk about the current chapters of Jujutsu Kaisen. We're talking about the current chapters of One Piece, Love is War, as always, Devil's Line, and A Girl on the Shore. So anyone who wants to read that stuff or doesn't want to get spoiled or caught up ahead or whatever, just, you know, there's a warning. Without further ado, let's get into everything. All right, so I figured we'll start with the one series that we've talked about every episode so far, and we probably will for a little bit. This is the only one that we've already talked about in previous videos, but that is one of my new favorites, Kaguya-sama Love is War. I read a ton as usual, still trying to catch up with everything. I am now caught up with everything that I have in print, which is pretty cool. So I'm up to volume 22. A lot going on. This series has definitely taken it's taken off like hardcore. Kaguya and the last couple volumes, Kaguya and Miyuki are finally dating. They've admitted their love for each other. So it kind of like started with shenanigans on that. That's been pretty fun to read. But a lot of these new these volumes that I read focus mainly on Ai over here, Ai Hayasaka. She is Kaguya's maid. Been a maid for her for a very, very long time. And in these kind of chapters, she has her like big development where she like no longer wants to be like her maid and her servant. She kind of wants to live for herself. We get a lot more details on Kaguya's family herself. So she has a lot of brothers. She's got a lot of brothers, and they're all kind of fighting to be like the next heir of like the whole family like corporation and everything. So they're kind of trying to use Kaguya to get like on their side and all this stuff, like this whole like in family like business scheming, I guess. We also found out that Kaguya, like, it was kind of just briefly mentioned, like she's not like a main line like of the family. She like is the child of like an affair the dad had with like a maid, or like one of the maids, which I thought was very interesting. I didn't really get that, but then like it was like a side panel where I just mentioned that, which I thought was really, really weird. But Ai wants to be her own person, kind of have like her own growth. She also found out she's been spying on Kaguya all this time for one of her brothers, and she feels like a lot of guilt, and she wants to apologize. And it all builds up to this big like field trip. So build up to this field trip where like the brother kind of like shows up and like he's causing problems, and they all end up like meeting in this one spot. A spot that kind of means a lot to them. And there was a really funny scene where they're like going to like attack them or whatever, and Miyuki like sprays one of them with like pepper spray, and he's like very proud. He's like, I helped. And then like the narrator's like, he didn't do anything. And I thought that was really, really funny, because that's such Miyuki's character right there. Like this, like, I did it. No, you didn't. They have like their resolution. Kaguya like forgives her. And now she's still attending the school. She cut her hair short, Hayasaka, and now she's attending the school just a normal person. She kind of tries to figure out like who she is and what she wants to do. So I'm always a big sucker for character development. I loved that development there, how she's kind of becoming like her own character rather than this like kind of like side character here. Other side notes, we unfortunately got the heartbrokenness of Yu. He got rejected by the girl he loved, Tsubame. It was a very emotional scene. It was very tough for me to read, actually. It just kind of really, really hit. So that was really sad. But I guess as one door closes, another one opens, because it paves the door for Miko, Ino, and Yu to get together, which looks like that's going to be the case. Miko definitely has feelings for him. There was a whole bit where she was talking to Miyuki about how she was like happy that he got rejected, but didn't like how it was sad, and wasn't sure that was like jealousy and all these things like that. It was like really, really sad. I really liked that like whole bit. Tsubame, though, is not a terrible person. She did help Yu a lot. Like she helped like kind of like resolve some of like the past trauma that people kind of had these thoughts of him from like what he did in the past, or he didn't do what people thought he did. So I do give it to her for that, and this whole plea about how she still wants to be friends, but it's hard to do that when like you have feelings for somebody that aren't reciprocated. I know that's definitely something we can all probably like relate to at some point. I also want to talk about my new favorite character, and that's Miyuki's dad. He is like the funniest guy ever. I think he's just such like a random like wild card. He just like, they're like eating dinner one night and he's like, kids, I'm gonna become a VTuber, and they're like, are you serious? You're like 50 years old. But he is, and he's like really successful, and like he's making like a lot of money, and like they're gonna move now. They're like in the process of moving to like a better house and everything. Like it's really funny because this guy's a VTuber. This 50-year-old guy's a VTuber. It's like the funniest thing ever. But there was a really heartfelt moment with that where Kaguya came to visit, and we found out that Miyuki's dad's company failed because of Kaguya's family, and she wants to be like with them more than with her own family. And like now her goal is to kind of fight her family so she can be her own person too, which I thought was like really, really cool. And it seems like the end of this is going to be like building up to a lot, because we are now in the 3rd year of like the Sujin Academy school for Kaguya, Chika, and Miyuki. So we're approaching the end. It's the 3rd year just started. We got 2 new characters in the last volume, and we got kind of like a clear cut, like I guess I want to say path to the end, but we got like what's kind of like what the next half of this series is like going to be focusing on, which I thought was really, really cool. So I am now all caught up to the print releases. There's 1 volume coming out next month, I believe. 24. There's 28 total. The question now is, am I going to read ahead from the print and just kind of like read it online on my tablet to like catch up and finish the whole series out? I mean, the answer is probably yes, but I guess we'll see. I kind of can't resist myself, but loving Love is War, how quickly it's become one of my favorite series, and just the turn that this series has taken since like volume like 12. It's just been like non-stop fire ever since. I'll never recommend this enough. So that's all Love is War. More of this to come in the future. All right, so next is another series that I read up to like what I had print-wise, and I was like, I'm only gonna read the print when it comes out. But then I was kind of like missing this series, and I wanted to kind of just like read ahead. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna have to do it. And I caught all the way up to like what's out like now. Like this series is still airing weekly chapters, and that's Jujutsu Kaisen. Holy hell with this series, do I want to say. I've never seen just like a standard shonen like this, so dark. And it's taken like these crazy, crazy turns. So this is post Shibuya arc I've read, which was also just an insane arc because like we lost like a lot of like cool characters, and it doesn't end like positively. It ends very negatively. And so like now the guy from the prequel movie Yuta, he's shown up, and he like because like now Yuji, because he killed a bunch of people as Sukuna, and now he's shown up to kind of like murder him, which he finds him and then doesn't murder him because he's like, listen, I know that something's going on here. Like, what the hell is going on here? We got Geto, or the fake Geto. He's making all these plans, and he kind of develops this game. They calls it like the culling game, and I'm still kind of like lost on like what the point of this is. It's like to merge all the sorcerers and like curse users in like Japan to fight, to like merge, so he can merge with like this like eternal curse user. I'm very confused what his motives are here. It's kind of really confusing, but I'm sure it'll be like explained a lot better. But that's his whole thing right now. So now all the characters are kind of preparing to enter this fight. They're trying to like come up with a strategy to like change the rules so they can win and like take him down is like the main point. We got some new characters, which I thought were really cool. There's like the 3rd year, I forgot his name, but he's like a 3rd year who got like expelled because he was like too violent. And like they were going to recruit him. They were going to find Panda. Megumi's still there, of course. Yuta's there. And then the craziest thing is with now probably one of my favorite characters, Maki. So Maki's part of the Zenin clan, as we all know by now, if you've read Jujutsu Kaisen or watched it or whatever. Maki's part of the Zenin clan. So she's going back there to get like cursed tools, where like her family like kind of like throws her like in like a dungeon with Mai, her sister or cousin or relative, with Mai, who's also a Zenin. So Mai sacrifices herself, and Maki becomes like super powerful and just murders like the entire family. It was like the coolest. It's in this volume actually. It was like the coolest thing I ever read. I'm like, oh my god. So now Maki is like this like, you know, no emotions like badass woman, and it's like the coolest thing ever. Like her hair's all cut short now. She's all like burnt up from this stuff that happened in Shibuya, and like she means like business here. So She's on a team. You got Yuta on a team. You got the third year who got expelled, and Panda on a team. And then Megumi and Yuji are also like on their own little team. So Yuji and Megumi go in. They're looking for this guy. It was a really cool fight actually with Yuji and this this lawyer sorcerer kind of guy. And like his like domain, he had to have like Yuji like on trial about like all the murders that he did, and then he finally wins and they get the points. But the biggest thing was Yuta. This guy is insanely powerful. Like the fight he had like in his little section was like so cool. I just kept like going and going and going. I couldn't stop. That battle was so intense. The art was so cool. The moves, Rika's still like with him and fighting. Like that guy is definitely like the new like Gojo of like this like future stuff that's going on right now. Speaking of Gojo though, I do miss some of the OGs, Nanami, Gojo, and Kurosaki. I miss them a lot. I really like them. Hopefully they kind of find their way back, because like their plan is to get Gojo free. He's still trapped in like that like cube. So we also got Sudo Ghetto, I'm gonna call him that, making moves. He went to like the US government and was like doing things with them, and then like summoned all these cursed demons on them. And then the last thing that we were reading, or I was reading, which is like kind of like where it is currently right now, is he went to go confront the internal guy Tenjin, and Choso and the other girl are there behind, and they're like trying to defend it, and they're having this like intense fight. It was so cool. There was a break chapter last week, unfortunately, so we gotta wait till tomorrow to figure out like what's happening there. But this series has just been so good. I did not think I was gonna get this crazy, or like the turns this series took, like because like season 1 was like dark, but it had like some like lighthearted moments. This is just like no, we're just going full in. I think this series is wrapping up not soon. I want to say maybe in a few years, but I know like the author has like his ideas for the end already mapped out, and like we're like heading towards that direction. So I don't know if this culling game is gonna be like the last thing, but I really do like these like shorter like Demon Slayer length series. They're really fun to read, and I cannot wait to watch all of this when it gets animated. So JJK, one of my new favorite series, is definitely that's like still like publishing, I guess. One of my new favorite current series is. I will recommend this forever. It's a little dark if you're looking for something a little more mature and darker. It's a little dark, but it is so good and is so great, and I cannot wait to keep reading as it comes out. It's so exciting. That's all I got to say. Right, so next is a series we haven't talked about for a very, very long time, which is weird because it's my all-time like favorite series, and that's One Piece. Yeah, we've been talking about this series in like months since I caught up, which was like back at like in March, which is so crazy. I didn't even realize that we haven't talked about it like since then. So let's catch up on everything that's been going on and all this stuff. I'm gonna ramble about One Piece for the next like 5 minutes. So last time we checked, we were in the middle of the Kaido fight in Wano. Luffy was about to go Gear 5. He didn't even go Gear 5 yet. So Luffy went Gear 5. Kaido is defeated. Momosuke is now the ruler of Wano, and they're off to like the next land. So quickly on Wano, a lot of people felt that the ending of Wano was like rushed, even though this thing went on for so long, and I do agree. Kaido's backstory could have been a lot more fleshed out. It really wasn't. That's not something that's really important to me though. But I did feel like it was like sort of like getting towards like the rushed point towards the end of like that whole arc. But it was still very, very good. I did really enjoy Wano for all the craziness that was going on there. A lot of things kind of like we found out. Pluton is in Wano. One of the ancient weapons. Momosuke will not open the gates, I think, because that will unleash that weapon. We found out there's like another Wano like underground, like that got from like the Void Century, that when they built the walls up, like the rain water like flooded the town. They built a new one like on top of it, pretty much. So like what's going on there? Definitely a lot of more Void Century stuff going on lately. Like we're finally starting to get little bits and pieces of that whole time. A lot of things going on in the world of One Piece during all of that. What we found out about, my favorite thing is the Cross Guild, which is Buggy, Mihawk, and Crocodile form this like guild where they're like hunting like Marines, and they put bounties on Marines and stuff like that. And now Buggy's one of the Emperors of the Sea because his face was on the top of the poster. So the world government was like, that's the guy. He's their leader. He's the Emperor, which is Buggy just capping his way to the top as he always usually does. So Green Bull shows up, Shanks shows up, finally making moves after all these years. Guy hasn't done a thing since Marineford. And even before that, he hadn't done a thing since the beginning. So it was really crazy though, seeing Shanks use like his haki from like all the way out like in the sea of Wano to take on Green Bull when he was kind of like hurting Wano. Yamato does not join the Straw Hats. That was a big thing kind of leading up to this. She decides to stay back, or he decides to stay back, excuse me. He decides to stay back to kind of like protect the land because, you know, Momosuke can't do everything himself. Another thing, Carrot's now the leader of the Minx because Dogstrom and Viper are staying back to help Momosuke. Kittymon's there too. It was really heartfelt saying goodbye to everybody. They've been around for so long in this series. Now they're finally kind of in their own thing, although I'm pretty sure it's not the last thing we've seen of them. More stuff on the world government things. Sabo, we found out the whole thing with him is that he killed Cobra from Alabasta. That VB's missing. I don't buy that. Nobody buys that, I'm pretty sure. We think it's like a cover-up. Sabo contacted the revolutionaries to tell him like everything that's been going on because he's been like missing. And when he kind of got in contact, he like saw someone on the empty throne, and then like the world government blows up the island that he's on and destroys the whole thing like it never even existed, which was like crazy. We still have no explanation on that. Was that Emu, or was that like a ancient weapon? We don't know what that was yet, but all we know is that they circled it, they exited out on a map, and the thing blew up, and it was that was it. I'm sure Sabo made it out. There's no way he just died like that, but we'll find out more about that soon. Dragon's been playing a lot more of a role recently, which is crazy. Because the island we're on now is Egghead Island, which is Vegapunk's island. We finally met Vegapunk after all these years. We finally see what he looks like. He's like a little like Albert Einstein looking scientist guy. And we learned a lot of lore, a lot for Robin, which I love. Anything Robin, I'm going to eat up, of course. So Saul's alive, and like that whole Ohara thing, like the researchers threw a bunch of books in like this ocean, or the lake. I'm sorry, and they recovered them all. And so now Saul is like the founder of like all this knowledge. So Kid was talking about a guy marked by flames before they left Wano, and we're pretty sure it's him now. So he's on Elbaf in like hiding, and he has like the last Poneglyph, and he has all the details in the Void Sentry, which is crazy because now we have a path to the end. They go through Egghead, go to Elbaf, meet up with Saul. Robin and him have that tearful reunion. It's gonna be so emotional. I cannot wait for that, by the way. Last Poneglyph, I'm sure there's gonna be some sort of villain or some fighting going on there. Last Poneglyph, Void Sentry stuff, to Raft-Tail, to the end. It's like, finally after all these years, we have a clear-cut path to the end. But we still have some ways to go, though. We gotta get through Egghead first, and it looks like CP0 is showing up now, which I'm really curious to see how that's gonna work out, because like, the gang took care of Rob Lucci so long ago, and they're so much more powerful. Like, these guys have to definitely have had powers up since, that last fight. There's no way they're just going to show up like Ennis Lobby levels and just like get handed to them. Like, it's not going to happen. So a lot of other things going on in the world. Law and Blackbeard had their big fight, or a little bit. Law's crew was just being like crazy on Blackbeard. They had the upper hand, definitely. We found out some more stuff with Blackbeard. Koji's definitely working for Blackbeard. He kidnapped Pudding from Big Mom's powers because I guess they want to use her third eye to like translate the Poneglyphs. And then they also have Kobe, who gave himself up during when they were going to get Boa Hancock, which was also just crazy. So they have both of them now as like hostages, which makes me think that Law's got the Poneglyphs. Let's say Blackbeard wins this fight, he'll have the Poneglyphs. Kid's going to get the Poneglyphs. So now all of them are going to converge on Laugh-Tail at the same time. And this must be like what's leading up to like this big war they always been teasing. All I know is like it's just so much going on. I'm so excited. I cannot wait for everything. Please, if I cannot recommend this series enough. If you guys like want to read anything, don't let 1,000 chapters scare you. I did it all in a year, and I took a lot of breaks in between too. It's not that hard. You'll enjoy the read so much. We're going to talk more about One Piece. I'll probably let a few chapters come out first before we go on and talk about it again. But I cannot wait now. It's like every week a new chapter comes out. It's like my favorite day of the week. I read it really, really early in the morning. It's so much fun, and this series means so much to me and will always will. So that's One Piece. So good, just so good. All right, getting to the end here. I'm not going to talk too much about these last two series because I didn't read too much, and they're new series that we started for the month. So we're going to start with Volume 1 of Devil's Line. This was a viewer recommendation, so I'm always looking for new things to read. So if you guys ever have anything you want me to read, please leave it in the comments. I will most likely eventually get to it. So this is one of them. So I bought Volume 1. I've never heard of this before. I never had a vertical press either. This is a vertical published book. Never had one of those before. So it looked very intriguing. It's about like vampire. It was like, I knew it was about like vampires and stuff. So I'm like, I'll give it a shot. I read Volume 1, and I want to say I did enjoy it. I definitely did enjoy it. I'm curious to keep reading forward and see what it's all about. So we got the first chapter, what I loved the most, just didn't waste any moments. It just went straight in for like action and like plot, which was just so cool. There's like no like world building. So we're in a world where like vampires live amongst the humans. Most of them are evil, and like they're kind of feared in this world. So it starts with this girl, the main girl, and like her like childhood friend, and they're like walking home from somewhere, and the guy likes her, but she keeps kind of like rejecting her. The next thing you know, this guy shows up, Anzi. He shows up, and he's like, "You're a vampire." Like, he's a vampire hunter. So he's like, "Wait, what? I've known this guy for 20 years of my life. You're telling me he's a vampire?" And he is. And they have like this, and they just start fighting. And then there's like this fight, and then Anzi wins. You find out he's half vampire, but he's like a half vampire who hunts vampires. He's like kind of one of those deals. He takes care of the friend, takes the girl home. The girl starts to catch feelings for him, and this like kind of builds up to this like friendship, like romance throughout like this book. He definitely cares about her. She has feelings towards him. They're a little older. They're like college level, not like your typical like high school level kind of situation. But there was a cool chapter in here where like she's going to return a book to like her teacher, and he kind of makes some like uncomfortable advances towards her. So Anzi steps in and he like fights him, but he kind of like turns a little bit because like he like sees blood or like tastes the blood, or like sees her draw blood, and he gets suspended from like his agency for a while. And then like their relationship kind of builds up like to then, and then like the last thing that was happening here was like there was like this battle with this like assassin, and it was so cool. It's not over yet. It continues into the next volume, which I haven't read yet. But like the art was really cool. Like the fighting was like super cool, and I'm really excited to kind of see where this goes. A very interesting series. Definitely a lot of things going on. We got some romance themes. We got some like action themes going on here. Just a whole lot, a little bit more mature. I'll put that one out there too in case anyone's interested. I can't wait to read more of this actually. I know I already said that, but like I said, I don't want to talk too much about it. I only read volume 1. But like that's generally the plot of this series so far. I'm sure there's more to it. It's a 13 volume series, or 14 I think. It's not very long. So we'll get more updates on this in the future. I already have volume 2. I'll be reading that very soon, so I'm sure we'll hear about that next month. So that's Devil's Line. Let's see where this journey kind of takes me. I'm really excited to see. All right, and last but not least is my most recent read. I'm not going to talk too much about this because I kind of want to save it. I'll talk basic plot lines and kind of about it. But that's A Girl on the Shore by my main man, Inio Asano, who is my favorite author. Goodnight Poon Poon and Sonnen are fantastic works. I will recommend those to the heavens all the time, just like One Piece. If it wasn't for One Piece, Goodnight Poon Poon would probably be my favorite series, honestly. But they're just so good. I read Downfall by him. It wasn't as good, but like it was still pretty. It was decent. And so next was this one. I didn't even know this was a thing actually until I saw it at the bookstore. And this was a weird one. Inio's got his classic art style is definitely present in this, and I just love his art style. It's just so detailed. It's so beautiful. I think that's what really draws me to his work. But it's about these it's another coming of age story about like these two kids. They kind of have like their own mental traumas, like stuff in the past. The boy with like his brother, the girl with like an older classmate that she really likes, and they begin this like casual sex relationship. And, of course, usually, one catches feelings for the other and all this, that, and this and that. But it doesn't go the way you think it goes. It goes a little different. Very, very interesting as they kind of used it to like cope with their like traumas and like their pain. I did like the character. I thought they were very interesting. I like the boy a little bit more than the girl. Definitely a little bit more like developed. His character kind of develops more in a sense. I'm not going to talk too much about the plot because I'm going to say probably read this. But the ending, I do want to say though, it wasn't my favorite. It was different. I'll say it was different. It didn't go the way I planned. This is a 2-volume set, and volume 1, like the ending of volume 1 was so good, like what was going on and stuff like that. And volume 2 kind of has like this, like you think it's going one way, but it really doesn't. It kind of turns the other way. So just be prepared for that if you ever want to read A Girl on the Shore. Especially if you really like his works, I would read it. And with that, that's actually like the third or fourth thing I've read by Inio Asano. The only thing I think I have left is Dead Demons, DDD Destruction, which I'm going to wait to get more volumes of because that's actually like a multi-volume series. But I would rank this above Downfall, but below Poon Poon and Sonnen. I put it right in the middle for right now. It's like everything that I've read. Art is beautiful. Plot's a little weird, but like the themes are there. They're very good. Ending's a lot different than your typical like coming of age like romance ending. I would say that. But that's Girl on the Shore. And that's everything I read this month. As always, please leave any recommendations you guys have in the comments below. I try to get to all of them when I can. and when I can, I have a lot to read. I already started a bunch of new stuff for next month, so I can't talk about those when we get there. And I will see you guys in a week for the pickups video. So thank you all for watching, and have a good day.